Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Comics
Hey.
Corner. We are waiting on Ranger to join us, but as soon as he does, we will flip over to our other screen and
hmm
go from there.
And in the meantime, we'll get our news and our recaps out of the way.
Yep, all the fun stuff. So we've got a couple of things going on. In terms of just programming related stuff, I will be going on vacation next week, so we will not be doing Comics Corner next week. Um, but we will be back Memorial Day weekend during our charity stream for a very
Yep.
special edition of Comics Corner with all of the honeys. Just still gotta program all that for. But hey, we'll get there.
It's gonna be fantastic.
It's gonna be so much fun. Um, Other than that, how have you been this week, Christy? Are you guys almost done with construction?
I'm doing good. Well, actually, there's gonna be a little bit of construction going on right now. Paul is removing the window in that room
Oh,
and boarding it up so it's a solid wall.
yeah.
Yeah. Trying to
Fun.
make it darker and a little bit more soundproof.
That makes sense.
Yep. How's your week going?
Oh, I am in the frantic like packing for vacation, getting everything done around the house mode. Which is why I this is the only thing I'm doing before I leave because I've just got way too much to do. But uh I'm good, you know? Things have been settling down. All of the students have left for the summer. So now my job will get so much easier, which I love. Um
Good.
but yeah, it's been not bad. So, we've got a bit of news today. So,
hmm
let's Okay, so of our news, I should have kept Discord open because that's where all of my news is. Um,
That's where the news.
yeah. So the big news for DC that or not DC that we got for Marvel that we got this week was the
Mhm.
Venom trailer dropping. Um, it
Yeah.
is highly entertaining. Um, it's a lot darker than the first one. Um, Woody Harrelson just it feels like he's playing a mental patient, which is kind of weird and it's very effective. I love the interplay between Venom and Eddie. The fact that he's trying to make him
Yeah.
breakfast and he's it's like all of those skits you did at camp with you when you were a kid where you had like a person behind you
Mhm.
being your arms. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
So,
It was a little bit humorous and also a little bit terrifying.
mhm, for sure. Um in other news, we got brand new posters for Black Widow. Which I'm sure I posted somewhere in our
Mhm.
Discord when they happened, but we got all the character sheet posters. They look fantastic. I love the black suit that they came out with. I actually really like the white one too, but the black one looks top notch. We got um the full Red Guardian suit. They just look really good. I'm so pumped for this movie. I'm so annoyed. I have to wait another 2 months.
Yeah. I actually really like that all of the suits kind of look like they go together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the Scarlett Johansson and Rachel Weisz seem to be wearing the same suit,
Yeah.
like exactly in these posters. And then the white suit looks like it is just a white version of the same thing, but it has like a tactical vest over top.
Yeah.
It looks very cool. And it's one of those things where, so many times in comic books, you have kind of like a hypersexualized female costume where it's all like way cut low and super skin tight. And this is, form fitting, but none of these people look like ridiculous. This looks
Yeah.
like something that would protect them and that somebody would choose to wear.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the Charlie's Angels, like kind of form-fitting Kevlar type stuff. Um,
Yeah.
which seems unrealistic at times, but it works for this world. And it makes
Hmm.
sense why she's wearing it.
Yeah.
They
I actually like the Elena's white outfit the best.
yeah.
That feels like something that she would kick butt wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very evident that the costume designer did a theme, similar to how the Incredibles all look the same. This family looks relatively close in terms of like
Yeah.
the through lines. I don't think Edna designed these, but I have a feeling she would have because there are no capes.
Yeah, no capes. Although it looks like Taskmaster is wearing a cape.
Well, I
I mean,
mean,
it's just like a hint of one, but he's got a hood situation going on.
yeah, that's okay
And
though.
the comic book character does usually have a cape.
True. I
That just
mean,
means he's gonna die, and that's fine.
yeah, I mean, I'm totally okay with that. So in other Marvel news, Miss Marvel did finish filming in Thailand of all places.
Hmm.
Which is interesting. Um, now I did not know this, but um, after all the COVID stuff happened, they moved from shooting in Georgia, where they usually film, to shooting in Thailand, which I'm curious if a lot of that is exterior shots or if a lot of it's interior, because it's going to be kind
Yeah.
of difficult to make Georgia and Thailand look the same. So that'll be interesting.
It depends. If there was something kind of jungly and bayou-ish, you could very easily replicate that in either place.
True.
So you don't know.
I don't know. I'm actually impressed they got done filming this fast because the last I had heard they had had significant production problems. So they must have been really close to finish filming when they had all of those issues come up. So
Yeah.
I have high hopes that it is, produced well. I am all for, diversity and letting everybody see themselves on screen. But I don't want that to come at the quality of the finished product. So the production team behind this,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything they've done. I've never heard of them, so I'm cautiously optimistic. Um,
Yeah. But this is also a good place to build because it's a character that not a lot of people know. And it's a relatively new character. So the way that they tell the story could set up a lot of stuff in the future.
yeah.
And that could be a really positive thing to do with some pretty unknown actors and pretty unknown like directors and producers.
Yeah.
You could tell a different kind of story in a different way that with that.
Yeah. Quick shout out because I've been flipping back and forth between chat. So hey Mustang, I did not see you pop up. Been trying to kind of keep up with everything. My OBS went weird on me.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, I just typed a hello because I didn't want to interrupt you.
no, you're good.
Legion was an amazing show, and that's one of those things. Legion is another character that not a whole lot of people know about,
Yeah.
and the way that they told that story was like chef's kiss. It was such a mind trip. It was like the TV equivalent of the first Doctor Strange movie
Mm-hmm.
with all of like the weird effects and you're not sure what's going on. It was definitely one to watch.
Yeah, it's on my list. I keep meaning to get around to actually watching it, but I have so many other things. Like, I'm gonna try this weekend and finally finish
Yeah.
Jupiter's Legacy, which is actually pretty good so far. So if you have Netflix, I highly recommend it. So we got, I'm gonna go through the rest of the news, and then I'll get to the kind of not so awesome fan reaction that happened this week with Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
But we got a new Loki trailer, which looks
Mhm.
really cool. It is, or not trailer, poster. There's the
Poster.
right word. Hey, Johnny. How you doing? Glad you could join us. So we got, kind of a main character, main ensemble poster. We were talking about this before the show started. This little like animated clock in the corner reminds me a lot of like the old school uh let's go to the concession like commercials that you saw before
Yeah.
films. And it's just adorable and it makes me happy. I'm curious to see where
Yeah,
that
very
comes in.
stylized.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for them to feature that so closely on the front of the poster, I wonder if that's the representation for time or if it's something that's going to come into play during the show. Um so the business side of things. So we got this week was the Disney quarter 2
Mhm.
report, which if you want to read it, I can link you the audio transcript. There's a lot of things in it because they cover everything within the Disney empire. But the big
Right.
things that came out of it were that Disney Plus massively missed its subscriber goal by about 20 million. They had a massive growth slowdown that nobody was expecting. And just overall, they missed their quarterly target. But the plus side is that starting with Free Guy, both Free Guy and Shang-Chi will go to the 45-day theatrical release window before moving to Disney Plus. They have not said whether or not that will be included in your subscription or if it's a POVD thing. You know, my guess is they'll probably put it behind a $20 pay window for POVD, and then you can watch it however many times you want to. But other than that, Disney's okay-ish. They have started kind of upping the capacities as all the mass restrictions came off of everybody who's been vaccinated. So you will start to see increases both at Disneyland and Disney World, which will bump the revenue massively.
Yeah.
Mustang, because it's behind a 45-day window, I don't think they can get away with charging the 30. Jungle Book, they are doing a day-and-day release, as well as Black Widow, and those both will be at $30, but I don't think anybody will pay the 30 for 45 days later. It's just unrealistic. We also, last thing, we got a new
$35 Canadian.
Yikes.
Thank you for the exchange rate. That's helpful.
I appreciate it. Our resident finance guy.
Yep.
So we've got a new Marvel comic coming out for Hulk, which is supposed to be his horrifying true woman.
Gosh.
Go for it. You found this. I'll let you go for it.
My gosh. Okay, so I love Hulk anyway, but this comic, we have a link and I'll put it into the recommended reading, because if you just follow this link, it puts the first several panels that you can actually see and read, and it is a nightmare. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm surprised that I legitimately did not have some kind of bad dream that night after reading this. It is The Immortal Hulk, Time of Monsters.
Ooh.
And this it has this like mythological backstory of the first Gamma monster, and it's like human sacrifice and just really, really graphic kind of art and storytelling, and I cannot wait for this to come out. Like, comics that I buy in a physical copy are few and far between. This is one that I'm absolutely going to buy. So I'm going to put that link in our Discord.
I already did.
Speaking of which, oh, thanks.
I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, it just really, really good stuff. Click through that link and just take a look at these first few panels, because it is such a tease for the kind of story that they're looking to tell. And I've never seen anything like this in the Hulk mythos before. Like, they're going back in time. They're saying that Immortal Hulk, they're saying that he cannot die and that this is the legacy that he's inherited.
Hmm.
Like it's going to be very intriguing to read.
Interesting. I'm not a huge like individual comic book reader. I read Cap, I read Star Wars, I read big events, but this has me intrigued. So
It is shocking. Like just looking at it's got what, 4 pages. That's it. And I'm already like biting my fingernails wanting to see what happens next.
wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
I have no idea when this comes out. I'm trying to look.
okay.
I don't think it says in this article when it comes out. And it doesn't have a date on the cover of the comic yet.
Interesting. Yeah,
Sometime this year.
sometime this year. I mean, I'm sure that because they're releasing it, it'll probably be coming out relatively soon.
Yeah, I expect it to be over the summer, maybe like a July release. That seems like it would be right. Oh, actually, right here at the very end of the article, it's in comic book stores next week.
Oh,
So,
yay. Cool. I will have to check
um,
it out. Hopefully it's
this
on
article
Marvel
was
Unlimited.
days ago. Yeah, should be out next week then.
Sorry, I'm laughing at
Highly
Ranger.
recommend. This thing looks awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
we should be getting Ranger here shortly. He was like, I thought it was 4 Eastern. I was like, it is 4 Eastern. He's losing track of time, but it's okay. We've all done it.
That's okay. We've been knocking out the news.
Yeah,
Nobody's feeling the pain of not having Ranger at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that,
Yeah.
it's gonna get crazy as soon as he's around. So, ooh, I don't know this.
Needs a password.
Hold on. Do. Hopefully that's the right thing. I don't know why it was being weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. Anyways.
So as Ranger is working on joining, you wanted to talk about Gal Gadot.
Yes. So unfortunately, there has been basically all-out war in the Middle East right now between Israel and the terrorist group Hamas. And Gal Gadot, who is from Israel, put out just a very simple statement saying, I am heartbroken that this is happening, praying for peace, kind of just very generic, I want this to stop, peacefully. And there was so much hate that came her way. I was shocked. And, it's unfortunate because we've had, all of this, Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, yet no one talks about the anti-Semitic stuff that happens. Okay. Sorry. And it's unfortunate that is, so acceptable to people to be able to just, go around and say, you know what, I don't like you just because of where you're from. And
yeah,
unfortunately, it's something that needs to stop, especially, just generally, like, you're a public figure. That's I get that. Thank you. And so there's some pitfalls that come with that, and you're not going to make everybody happy. But the fact that this was so prevalent and no one said anything makes me sad. Because I don't want anybody persecuted for anything.
This is something that if people don't talk about it, they're not going to know it exists. This is a situation that she absolutely has every appropriateness. Hey, Ranger.
Hey, sorry about that. I completely got the forward time mixed up.
That's all good.
Yeah,
I just went
it
and
is
grabbed some
hard to
food.
tell which time zone is Eastern sometimes.
I'm in Central, so I don't know why I thought it was 4 Central, 5 Eastern my time or some shit like that. Or 4, it was going to be at 4 Central my time. I didn't
Yeah,
think
that's
about the
why I
Eastern.
always use it too, because I'm the only one of the bounty honeys that's in Central.
So,
Okay, so just to let you know, we're wrapping up our news and we're talking about Gal Gadot at the moment. How
mhm.
she's gotten a lot of backlash for very rightly commenting on the situation from where she's at. Like, she is from Israel. She served in the army.
Yep.
She was Miss Israel. Like, if anybody has the right to comment on something that's happening in that country, it is a person from that country.
Yeah.
You would think that would
She's
make sense, yeah.
Yeah, but this is a lot of, like, not only an anti-Semitic kind of rhetoric, but also anti-woman and anti-celebrity, where a lot of people are like saying they don't want their celebrities to speak up and have an opinion on anything. And I'm like, they're human.
Yeah.
You know, if I get to have an opinion on the politics and the policies of my city, my state, my country, why can't she? Just because she's famous? I don't care if one person hears her or 10 million. She's allowed to have an opinion because she's a human being.
Oh, I
And
agree.
whether or not you agree with that opinion doesn't mean she doesn't have the right to say it.
Well, everybody, what's the old adage? The people that hate your opinion are the ones that think theirs is right. So, I mean, I don't really get into that stuff because it's like, I think anybody we have freedom of speech, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, you don't like it. She's allowed to speak her mind on subjects. I mean, I've never understood that. I mean, people will say some dumb things and you can disagree with it, and that's where it ends. But if you don't like it, tough. Just don't like it. Listen to them. But I mean, for her to
Exactly.
get backlash for stating on the situation, she's
But nothing that she said was hurtful
right.
towards any other people. It was very sweet and respectful and just hoping for the best for the people.
Yeah.
And so the fact that she's facing backlash is just absolutely ludicrous. And it's coming from a mixture of people who are either anti-woman or anti-Semitic or anti-celebrity,
Yeah.
or
Well,
maybe all three.
I mean, if my whole thing is, I don't care what other people think unless I respect them. So unless I know you
Yeah.
and value your opinion, you can say whatever you want. I don't care. Honestly, I mean, you can say the dumbest crap ever, and I'm just gonna be like, well, whatever. You're an idiot, and
Yeah.
just move on. So we've got plenty of internet idiots out there that, they get really brave that will say anything on the internet and on Twitch or
Yeah.
uh, tweet out something and but they don't have the hair on their ass to go say it to somebody's face, and if you can't say it to somebody's face, then you should just keep your mouth shut.
And
But
speaking of people who are just randomly on the internet, ladies and gentlemen, Ranger J 1999 from
hi,
Reality
everybody.
Skewed Gamers.
I got my times mixed up, as you can tell, so I'm
But
here.
it's cool. We got the news out of the way. I do recommend that you read the new Immortal Hulk comic that's coming out because it looks disturbing as all heck, and I cannot wait. Comes out next week.
When
Nice.
the full run is done, we will do a review of all of it. And,
Oh gosh,
and we'll
I'd
break
love
it all down.
This thing seems so disturbing.
I'm
can't wait.
pumped.
I'm looking forward to it.
So,
Okay. Do you want me to recap quickly and
yes.
get the CW shows out of everybody's way? Okay.
Yes.
I feel like I'm the only one who watches these anymore, but it's
I
fine.
used to watch all of them, and then I got to be honest, I got bored. I mean, it just, I mean, Flash, Green Arrow, what was it League of Legends, Supergirl. I mean, I
DC
watched
Legends of Tomorrow.
DC Legends of Tomorrow, not League of
Mhm.
Legends. But yeah, I watched all those, and then it's like, kind of got old. I just, didn't really. I mean, it was entertaining for a while, and I got into some of the story plots and stuff. But then I was
Mhm.
like, yeah. But I
Yeah,
like it still.
I like it best when we have the like the crossovers and
Mhm.
they get into each other's stories, because I do watch them all. I enjoy that stuff. But really quickly, for the Flash, the Speed Force had just killed the Strength Force, proving that she's a little bit evil. And the guys end up deciding that they're going to go back in time and keep the forces from being created. But Barry has a crisis of conscience. And so he ends up deciding that he's going to reason with them instead. And so then they go back to the present and decide to teach all the forces to be good. So we've got Strength Force, Sage Force, Still Force, and Speed Force, who is trying to kill the others. For Batwoman, we did have a Villain of the Week episode, which I love. That's always the best when you have just all of the Rogues Gallery villains. This one is Quizmaster, and he is a bomb-toting quizzy guy that basically Riddler without riddles. And at the end of the episode, Alice has been abducted, and she is going to make a new face for the woman who has abducted her. And she finally figures out as she starts putting the face on that it's Kate. So she's making Kate a new face and she's freaking out about it. Legends was a really fun episode. Legends of Tomorrow, they're going back in time. This one was going to the 50s and they're tracking their first alien through time. And they found it at a burger joint. And I'm like, oh, don't be the meat. Don't be the meat. But it was the special sauce.
Oh, that's worse.
It was so gross. It was so gross. So basically, everybody was eating these burgers and like craving more meat. So they were all just like shoving burgers in their faces, going like full zombie. It was super gross.
It makes me not want to have a burger.
And the B plot. Oh,
I just had one. I'm like, wait a minute.
The B plot was that Sarah is on an alien ship and she's trying to get back to the Legends. So she crashes and she finds Amelia Earhart there, which of course you do.
Okay.
But Amelia Earhart is like stuck in some kind of like loop of actions and speech. So I think she's probably going to like attack them any minute. And then Supergirl was by far the best episode of the week. It felt like Doctor Who.
Nice.
It was really, really quite enjoyable. So they are going into the Phantom Zone to rescue Supergirl, who is trapped there. And it does, like, they only have 2 hours to complete their mission before their ship will, like, degrade and they'll be in danger. And so it tells, like, this couple of minutes of story from one person's point of view, and then it rewinds time and tells it from another person's point of view and another, as they're all experiencing their worst fears because they're being infected by the phantoms. It was so much fun to watch. It was like really well acted and really well produced and put together. And then at the very end, they rescue Supergirl, but the fifth dimensional imp that she found there hitches a ride. So that's going to be the rest of the Supergirl series, because this is our last season. It's probably going to be her protecting Earth from this fifth dimensional imp that she just accidentally broke out. And that was the CW.
Sounds good. Alrighty, guys, we will be back in 2 secs after our various commercials. We will see you on the other side of this, where we talk all things X-Men with our boy Ranger.
Hey there, Bounty Honeys fans. The Llama here to let you all know that the Honeys have an official merch store. You can get merch from all your favorite honeys, plus you can get our very special Bounty Honeys charity shirt. The proceeds of that one go to whichever charity that the Bounty Honeys are currently supporting. The one we have coming up is To Write Love on Our Arms. And you can't leave the store without getting an official Team Llama shirt to let the world know that Kate Gaming is always sus. The merch link is in our official Discord server. It's either down in the description below, or if you're on Twitch, you can hit !Discord. We can't wait to see photos of all of you repping your favorite Bounty Honeys.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Kate Gaming here from the Bounty Honeys, here to tell you about our Discord channel, where you can keep up with the latest Bounty Honeys news, including when the Comics Corner podcast, hosted by Critty K and Geek Girl, is being live recorded, when Swugga videos are released by the Llama and Kate, and when we are going live on our personal channels. To join our Discord, check out the link in the description below.
Smart, very smart.
It
Alrighty, guys.
was a lot of
So
fun.
we've got
We're back.
so much X-Men to talk about. So
Mhm.
to
Where
start
to
off,
begin?
Ranger, why the X-Men? Why are we talking X-Men today?
I think they're the most fascinating superheroes. What makes the X-Men so unique is that the storyline of the X-Men deals with, if you look through the history of the X-Men, it gets into those kind of racial and those topics you don't normally approach, but as mutants being secondary citizens and all the other things that go with it, and then the personal stories of each of the X-Men and the writing that's been done over the years that's tackled some of these issues through this. And they do that really good on Marvel, but I mean, to me, it was what made the X-Men is they're down to earth people that have powers. This mutation, they're human beings that have a mutation. And I always found that fascinating. And just how they interacted and what do they stand for and the ideologies and things of that nature. And just goddamn cool. What can I say, man? Some of the most, I mean, well-known characters in the world. You can say their name and most people will know. If I say Wolverine, you're gonna be like, oh yeah,
Yep.
Wolverine. Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I love it. I think they're fantastic.
They're a fascinating.
Okay, so you.
Sorry. They're a fascinating group
No, you're fine.
that has really only been done justice either in animation or live action once. And that was the animated series back in the 90s. Days of Future Past was good, but it wasn't great. And the rest of them have been a dumpster fire.
I did like First Class though.
Yeah, I liked First Class too. They did a really good take. If you think about, I've read a few of them. I couldn't really get into the original X-Men series that started in 1964. I read a few of the reprints that they did until they started Volume 2, New X-Men #1. But it was interesting that they really hit on some of those earlier points and like how the X-Men were originally done. But what I liked about First Class is they also started tying in the other stuff that made the overall arc and story tie in well, because the first X-Men comic books were just like everything else Marvel was doing there. It's a villain, we got to go defeat the villain. It didn't get really into the hard-hitting stuff until Chris Claremont really got in there and started doing some stuff.
All right, so you mentioned Wolverine, but who is your all-time favorite X-Men character?
It's Wolverine, without a doubt. I think he is the most fascinating character. Logan is, if you've ever read anything from the Weapon X series or Old Man Logan or anything about Wolverine, in recent years, other than those storylines, I mean, of course, he went to the Avengers for a little bit, and then they brought him back with the new series that's out with, House of X, Powers of X, Swords of X, that kind of stuff, which I really dig. He's just always been my favorite. I like his attitude. I like there was that mystery that was about him. I think his powers are cool. I mean, he's basically immortal, and then the whole thing about how to get the Endymion claws. I remember the first time I saw Wolverine is back in the day in the early 80s when I was like a youngin'. They had Spider-Man Friends, and they had an episode in there with Wolverine. Of course, for some reason they made him Australian. I don't know why, but the voice actor was Australian. It's like, he's Canadian. That's not how Canadians sound. But I remember that really got me into the X-Men. That's what really started me. Like, who are these characters? Who's this Wolverine guy? And so I think I went out with my mom the next day, and they actually found a book of just those old paperback books that had like all the characters listed and their powers and stuff. And I just started reading through the X-Men and stuff. And then I cut the comics here and there. Wasn't really until I'd say I was 12 or 13 when I started collecting all the X-Men comic books, and then I started getting to the other ones like X-Force, or New Mutants first, New Mutants, then X-Force, Excalibur, X-Factor, when they broke away after everything that happened in the Dark Phoenix saga. So you had all these different books, and I got into all that stuff, and and I've just been loving it ever since.
Nice. Okay, nice. So who is your dream X-Men team?
Let's say 5 X-Men.
Yeah.
You can put 5 on your ship.
That's a good question. Well, Wolverine definitely. Boy, there's so many good ones. So let's go Wolverine. I'm gonna put Wolverine, Professor Xavier.
I was gonna say, are you just gonna put 5 copies of Wolverine?
And I'm just thinking about the other ones where I would rank them and where would I put them. Definitely Storm,
Mm-hmm.
T'Challa's wife. Let's see here. Who would be two cool ones? I'm trying to think of something. There was a character. I'm just gonna do this for fun. Long Shot, one of my favorite all-time X-Men. That didn't really haven't done much with him, but back in the day, I thought his he was cool as hell. Just for doing some old school there. And then who would be a cool one? I'll go Archangel, because I thought after Angel got transformed to one of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, he's been one of my favorite ones too.
Yeah, I gotta say, Archangel is one of my secret favorites.
Really fascinating, his story through. Go ahead.
He's a great character who has been criminally underused in the live action versions of things.
A lot of and not even just that, but I think in the comic books, it's interesting until the recent House of X and moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of characters and even villains have been overly underused. I mean, if you think back in the day, I mean, I love Gambit, but he has really fallen off the wayside. So has Rogue, and so has some other popular characters. For instance, Omega Red. I mean, yeah, they've done spots here and there, but I mean, you don't. I think what happened, and I was watching somebody do a video about this. I think with the 90s and into after the comic book bust, but through the 90s and into the early 2000s, X-Men got really convoluted.
Yeah.
It had so many characters, so many mutant characters, and so many different threads that a lot of characters didn't get the time. And they never really did anything until recently. I mean, and I think what they've done recently with House of X is absolutely fantastic. I adore this series. It has been so good. The writing's been phenomenal. I love what they've done with Xavier and Magneto and the whole Prince. It is unbelievably good. And that's what X-Men should be about. It was like that in the early days where it wasn't that many X-Men, but they had all these battles, whether it was the brood battles or Dark Phoenix saga. I mean, you just got into this because there's only so many characters, and you had one here or there that would come or go. But yeah, God, Havoc and all those guys. I mean, it's man, they're really knocking out of the park. But I think they've got the essence. It's the team aspect in those main characters and everybody contributing in their own way. So yeah, I mean, there's so many good X-Men. We could talk about them forever.
True. Yeah. I mean,
my personal favorite is Forget Me Not.
Forget Me Not.
I love him.
Interesting.
There's been some X-Men you don't think about, right? Like Dazzler was an X-Men, Jubilee was an X-Men, still an X-Men. I mean, there's these characters that you see, Forge, who can make anything. These characters, they do have their moments, and then you don't see them for a while, and then they come back, and then you don't see them for a while. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I like Long Shot, so he was just mutant power of luck. I was like, I'll take that. That's incredible. How's that work? And he looked
right.
Cool too.
I mean, honestly, and that's where really cool. we've talked a lot since we started this about House of M with WandaVision, and a lot of people forget that was designed to eliminate a lot of the weird peripheral X-Men, and then settle on, I want to say it was like 198 that they settled on, or something like that.
But
like Pokemon, you're always gonna have too many.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what House of M. That's what Marvel. Yeah, that's what Marvel does over DC. DC just reboots, right? Whether it's New 52 or you can look at any of their series, they just reboot it. But Marvel always reboots in their storyline. Nothing really, the actual story arcs there, but like House of M is a perfect example of that. I mean, and getting that whole story. I mean, that's an epic comic book series. But yeah, that was them basically going, all right, we got way too many superheroes and stuff. How can we get rid of them? Well, that made sense, and she sure did with the mutant populations. Hundreds of thousands down to just 198. So, or whatever the number was, I don't remember, but yeah.
It was crazy. And there's been a lot of really great kind of one-off stories, and there's been a lot of great team-ups. I know Wolverine often goes off and plays with the Avengers for a while, and you get a lot of these intercrossing storylines. There's two versions of the Maximoffs, and the one we've got currently is the non-Magneto children, but I would love to see them, continue the Magneto children storyline, and I have a feeling that Evan Peters was actually playing Peter Maximoff, not Pietro. But anyways, that's a different storyline. So I'm curious to see where you think they're going to bring the X-Men in to the MCU. Is it going to be via Storm and the new Black Panther film? Is it going to be something else?
I mean, yeah, I mean, people forget Storm and T'Challa were married, you know, and you know, she is of Wakanda. There's a great image. I can't remember. I haven't. I'll have to go back and look at it. But there's a great image of T'Challa on his throne with Storm at his side. It's like, oh, that's so good. Whoever did that, that looks epic. I don't know. I mean, I'm really excited now that the MCU has them, because if you look at the Inhumans, I think what happened with the Inhumans here a couple years back was just horrible. I mean, how do you do that to some of the Medusa and everybody else? It's like, come on, man. The Inhumans are great, and that their story arc with with what they did, and we won't get into the Inhumans, but yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, I don't know how they're going to introduce it. You make a great point. Could it be Storm being introduced that way, or and I don't know what story arc they're going to try to go with the X-Men, because there's so many great story arcs, and I'd be interested to see if they're going to bring them in this timeline. Where are they going to take the X-Men, and what story arcs are they going to do, and will that lead to individual storylines or things of that nature, which we'll have to wait and see. But I am excited about that. That's a great point. I never thought about that. You know, could you bring like Storm or a new version of Wolverine into the MCU as an introduction to the X-Men or something? A little cameo. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we were talking with Deadpool Kyle last week, and I said that my personal preference would be if Deadpool just started cameoing in all of the after credits.
God, that would say good. Ryan Reynolds is the Deadpool. God, I love Deadpool.
Yeah.
People forget he started off as a villain, man. It was so funny. I think he was in New Mutants 98, and then he has just expanded on so many teams and done so many things. It's ridiculous. I mean, and Ryan Reynolds captures him perfectly.
Okay, so you talked about Wolverine being your favorite X-Men character, but if you were an X-Men character, what would you want your power to be?
I always thought about this. I always thought it would be, if I had an X-Men power, it would be to control gravity, and by gravity I mean be able to control the density of my body and then surrounding stuff. With gravity, I could make myself or someone I touch like like a star, or make myself so light that bullets go through, you know, that kind of thing. I thought that was always a cool thing. I mean, as a power. So that would be kind of my thing. I don't know what the hell I'd call myself, but Gravitron. I just thought of that, like, no, that's stupid. I got but you know, but I always thought that would be a cool power.
I like it.
Yeah, what about you, Gigi?
Oh God. You know, I've always been partial to X-Men, to Iceman, or Rogue. So I like
the X-Men.
Yeah, Iceman. You know, that guy. My brain is failing me.
Bobby Drake.
But I like the idea of being able to control an element, you know, and wield it like, you know, an airbender or something. Like, that would be kind of fun. I don't know what the heck I would call myself, but probably something really stupid.
Isotron.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
for me, it's always been teleportation.
Ooh,
teleportation.
Right. Traffic so much.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, teleportation.
If I had that, I would be going to
Teletron.
Disneyland every day.
That's a cool one too. You can have fun with that, right? And there are role-playing games that I've done in the past where you had to come up with you know, different powers and characters, and it's always fun to kind of think about that. I think one of the MMORPGs I once played, City of Heroes, City of Villains, was fun because you can make your character look however you want it, and you can develop the powers over time and do all that fun stuff. So yeah, it is fun to do that, to create your own superhero or villain. I played a villain, so
I mean, hey, there's so many, and that's one of the beauty of this team, is that you can make just about anything into a mutation, and
Yeah.
able to do whatever you want within the universe.
Yeah.
I had a question in my brain. What was it? Oh, if you could write a storyline that hasn't already been done in the comics, what would it be?
It's hard to say. They've covered a lot of stuff. Um, boy, I have to think about that. I mean, the X-Men have done so much stuff. It's hard to come up with something new and creative.
Mhm.
I always thought it'd be cool if the X-Men went and battled Hell. I mean, that would be cool. I don't remember if they've ever actually been into that domain. It'd be kind of cool to see them, get in the battle of just to beat someone gets sent to hell and they got to go rescue them or something like that. I thought that would be kind of a cool story arc, like someone's soul's captured and they got to go free it or something like along those lines, right? Because the X-Men stay together, although they didn't always stick together, but yeah. So I thought that would always be cool. That's the only one that really comes to my mind. Like, what place have they have not been? Heaven, hell. That's the only thing I can think of.
All right.
Because they've been to outer space, they've been all over the multiverse, they've been, good Lord in heaven. I mean, they've been everywhere. So
True.
Okay, so we have a couple of fan questions
all right.
that I'm going to start with Daggers because I know Mustang Groot is in the chat and he had like 17 questions.
Sure.
So I'm going to start with Daggers. Was Oscar Isaac better in X-Men Apocalypse or in Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Ooh, interesting.
Sorry, Age of Apocalypse. They missed the ball. I did not like that movie. They missed the entire idea of what Apocalypse is, and really, they're just not capturing the essence of who he is. Right? I mean, he's very much. He has this ideology and he sticks to it, but he's also flexible, especially in the newer comics. He's actually working with the X-Men, with the in the newer series, and it's been fascinating to see, especially the Swords of X series. I mean, to see Apocalypse, he's a fascinating character that has a richness to him that they have just not untapped, and it's heartbreaking. They've really, in some of these movies, like, other than Magneto, who I think has been portrayed both times by both actors very, very well. Even Xavier has done well, but I mean, the villains miss the mark, man. Miss the mark every damn time, and
then we just don't talk about Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix, man. I hated that movie. Yeah, the second one was it's worse because it's just some Hollywood idiot that goes in there. It is not trusting what the true story is about with the Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix is a universal force. It's in the comics. It's hit Jean Grey. It's hit her daughter. There's a time it went to all the 5 X-Men. I mean, it is in an incredibly powerful force that it's not controllable. It does what it wants to do. I mean, when you got Titans scared of the Phoenix Force, there's something incredible about it, and they just missed the whole point. It's an entity. It's its own thing. It has its own. It has its own wishes and desires and things it wants to do, and its nature. And they just like not just power, but you don't really ever explain where does it come from, why does it do what it does. They just say it's the Dark Phoenix. Well, no, that's not how. I mean, no, that's not how it is. And it just wasn't Jean Grey just mutating the Dark Phoenix? Goddamn, this is not how this works. So
they treated it like it was just a different personality of Jean instead of another being altogether.
Which it does do. I mean, if you read the comics, it does affect her, but it's not intrinsic to her. It's something that happens to her.
Yeah.
And they miss the ball completely on that. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, the Dark Phoenix, don't get me started. Oh, I love that story in the books, and the stuff that it led to, but good Lord in heaven. Oh God.
Okay, now for Mustang Groot's 1.5 million question.
Let's go, baby.
Which I appreciate.
Let's rapid fire the first few of these because you've talked about some of them already. Sure. Your favorite run of X-Men?
I gotta say, so many good ones. Age of Apocalypse, so many good ones. I still think the newest series has been by far the best. I'm gonna go with this. I think it's up to Dark Phoenix is up there for me. I think Days of Future Past And I think Age of Apocalypse would be my top 5. But right now, House of X, Powers of X, the House of X series has just been unbelievably good. It is so good. If you haven't read it, you need to read it.
Nice. Your favorite story arc?
That's interesting. Story arc. I think my favorite one was when the teams split up, and then you had Wolverine's faction and Cyclops faction, and they were going at it, the two different teams. And I can't remember. I'm going brain dead. What that was, this series was called, but yeah, it was.
Captain America: Civil War.
It wasn't Civil War. The Civil War was something different. It was the Civil War between the X-Men, but it's Wolverine. Wolverine had his own faction, and then Cyclops had his own faction. And I'm not getting the series off the top of my head, but I thought that was one of the coolest one, because they Cyclops had always been that straight guy, and Wolverine had been his guy, but it got really interesting to see Cyclops change. He became more like Magneto, and Wolverine was kind of becoming, the Charles Xavier, of the group. So I thought that was really fascinating.
Okay, what did you think of the Dark Phoenix event?
We'd already talked about that. Let's just move on from that garbage dump.
Master Mold event?
It's not really on my radar.
Okay. And Wanda event, which would be House of M.
House of M is really a good series. Master Mold really, I thought it was okay. But House of M, so good. I mean, it was fascinating to see, the Scarlet Witch get her time to shine, and to see just how ridiculously powerful she was, which people are now starting to understand. I mean, Scarlet Witch is she's an Omega level mutant. I mean, there's a few of them out there, but yeah. I mean, it's so good, man. Yeah, I rate it high. I love House of M.
Nice. What is your favorite X-Men lineup? Which you kind of said with your 5 that you would choose.
5 that I would choose, but I remember when Jim Lee was the artist, and then they split it up to X-Men, I think Volume 3, number 1, where it had that really badass art cover from Jim Lee. I think it was, I'm not mistaken, X-Men Genesis 1 through 3, where you had those badass comic book covers with all the X-Men that he drew with Psylocke and all those guys. And then you had, I can't remember, I think it was Lambert who did the Uncanny X-Men. And so I really thought, that lineup there where they went gold and blue team, that was really cool. But I liked the Wolverine team on that one, because it had, I'm trying to think of who was on that team. It was Psylocke, I think, Wolverine. I thought the cooler characters, Gambit and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, because the other one I think was like Storm, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and then the other one was like, Wolverine, Gambit, Psylocke, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Who are your favorite villains?
Definitely Magneto is my favorite villain of all time. I mean, I think Magneto is, especially with the new storyline, I keep coming back to it, but and it's really interesting because his such a fascinating, his character from where he started to where he is now, and now in the new books, I mean, he still has that same mentality, but he's changed his philosophy a little bit, but it's still there. Magneto thinks he's doing what's right. He thinks, what he thinks. He's always been a great character and a great villain. I think some of the other ones that come to mind, Apocalypse has always been one of my favorite. I think he's a fantastic character. I loved Omega Red when he came out, and I just talked about the new X-Men, but in X-Men number 4, that badass cover art from Jim Lee with Omega Red and Wolverine, I was like, holy, who the hell is this? And they're tearing up Wolverine. Oh my God. And then when you found out what his powers were, you're like, oh, what are the other villains that really stick out? I mean, those are the 2 big ones for me. You have the other ones like the Brood and, things like that happen.
Sometimes Mystique, sometimes like the
Brotherhood of
Morlocks.
Evil Mutants, and stuff.
One of the things I find intriguing about the X-Men is so often the villain is a human. Like the Sentinels. I love the Sentinels. Anytime I've seen that. Yeah,
Days of Future Past was a really good series too. I mean, and I love that they really showed Kitty Pryde through that comic. I mean, it was her time to shine. I mean, it's so good. and what the Sentinels truly were capable of. You see that they're all dead and everything that's happened. And yeah, I mean, the Sentinels have always been fascinating. And they brought them back here in the House of X too. I mean, human beings trying to do it again, trying to create the Queen Sentinel, and the X-Men have to go back and try to stop it. And yeah, so
Yeah, I went back and started rewatching the animated series, and that was the first thing was Sentinels showed up, and I was like, yes, I forgot about this.
The
I
Sentinels
love it.
were always a good shtick. I mean, there's I mean, you have the Mutant Massacre. You also have what is that country in Africa that Magneto actually took it over? They were trying to wipe out the mutants. Everybody's been trying to kill the mutants, and it's nice to see in the new story arc that instead of the X-Men being like, okay, we're going to try to coexist with humanity, like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And on top of that, we're immortal now because this living island we're on can bring any of us back at any time. So suck it, world.
Okay, what did you think about Professor X, Emma Frost, Storm, and Cyclops as leaders leading the X-Men?
I think
I guess who was your favorite?
Yeah. It's hard to argue against Xavier. I mean, he's always been that guy. He's been that mentor to not just the X-Men, but like a father figure and a friend. I mean, his relationship with Wolverine Logan has been, I think, one of the most fascinating, relationships out there. Are in Xavier's relationship with Magneto. I've always loved those arcs where they're working together or they're, their differences and things. I've always thought, but I thought he's always been one. I think he's been the best one. Emma is up there. Her dynamics have changed, and I've loved how they've changed her character over time. She used to just be straight up villain, and now she's more not the villain. Cyclops was always too straightforward, too Boy Scouty. I mean, until we got to that series I was talking about, and I wish I could think of it off the top of my head. I'm going to kill myself for not remembering this. But yeah, I thought he'd be probably the last one. Who was the other one? Xavier, Emma,
Storm.
Yeah, yeah. Storm's been actually. I put her third. I think Cyclops would be fourth.
Okay. And what are your favorite Marvel crossover events?
It's a good one. I'm trying to name this. What was the recent one where? What was it called? I'm gonna kill myself. I cannot believe I'm brain farting on a comic book show.
We look stuff up all the time. It's
I mean, honestly,
yeah. It was how they I think in 2015 or 2014, whenever it came out, is where they rebooted the whole Marvel universe. Where it had that thing where each realm, the planets collide, and whoever was the strongest. I can't remember what it was. Where it led to where what's his name was like the god of this world, and they went there. It had like a lot of the characters that survived. Only a few survived, like Reed Richard and a few characters from the Marvel universe that ended up on this planet. What was it called?
I was about to say Planet X, but I think that was the Star Trek one.
No, yeah, what is the name of it? Okay, now I'm going to look it up. I cannot believe I'm going to have to look this up.
It has to look it up, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. I'm going because I only let's see.
There's been so many of them. That's kind of the problem. Mustang says Secret Wars.
I think it might have some Secret Wars. Maybe let me look up here.
Well, since you mentioned Secret Wars, that was his next question. Did you enjoy Secret Wars?
I actually did enjoy Secret Wars. So I thought it was really good. Yeah.
There's only like 7 more questions.
That's right. I want to find this out. I'm going to find out what the hell this is. So I'm going to mom.
No problem.
If you guys have not seen, there's a great channel called Comic Books Explained. I really enjoy that.
Nice.
They're fantastic, as well as I think it's Valorian. They also take either individual episodes issues or individual characters or events. That's actually how I do a lot of my research for this show, because I don't have time to read all of these comics like I'd want to. I only look like I know what I'm doing.
I'm looking this up. No, it's not Civil War. It's not Civil War 2. I've got to find this. Blast it. It was Avengers. It was mainly an Avengers story arc, and I'm trying to figure this out. Let me see. Wasn't Infinity Gauntlet? Was Infinity Wars? What the hell was it? Oh, it's going to drive me crazy. I think it had the collapse of the multiverse, Avengers and New Avengers, but it had to do with the entire Marvel universe, where all the characters. Of course, you can go back into Civil War. That was a really good one too. Yeah, I think it was called the collapse of the multiverse, Avengers and New Avengers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So when they rebooted everything, which led us to the House of X, which I was very happy to see, because this takes place after the House of M. Yeah, this is the story after that they rebooted everything.
Okay. What did you think about Avengers versus X-Men?
Oh, that was great. I mean, it was okay in the sense that, I mean, it is what it is. They do crossovers like that. I mean, DC and Marvel did a crossover back in the early 90s, right? Where they had
I
those
remember
two
that one.
beings, and there one's red and one's blue, and then all of a sudden you got all this, it was fans voted and who's going to be the most powerful, Superman versus the Hulk, and that's why I started reading. And then they did all this stuff like Wolverine and Batman together as one person. No, I'm not. But no, get out of here.
Please stop it. Stop
Just
messing
stop.
with my characters.
Yeah, just stop. I mean, I just read it because I wanted to see who would win between Green Lantern and Silver Surfer, or Superman versus the Hulk, Wolverine versus Lobo, Captain America versus Batman, those kind of things. But then they made them like, it got weird, and I didn't like it at all. So
yeah. What do you think about the X-Men live action movies? Like, do you have a favorite one? Is there anything that they've gotten really right in your book?
The original X-Men in 2000 and the one right after that were really good, I thought.
X2?
X2, yeah, that was really good. That's one of my favorites. I liked X-Men Days of Future Past. I thought it was really well done. I liked First Class. I hated Apocalypse. What else? What other ones? Dark Phoenix. Oh boy.
Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Just Wolverine, and Logan.
Yeah, I don't. They really.
I know. I was counting all of the X-Men movies in my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, there was that one too, where like
boy.
There was
they
so many not good ones.
I mean.
And then honestly, you could count Deadpool and Deadpool 2 as well.
Those are those are really them. Yeah, I mean, old Logan was really good. I mean, that was fantastic. I love that movie. Trying to think who else. Other than that, yeah. I mean, what was the one with Wolverine when they did the Japanese story? It was from the X-Men. It was from Uncanny
Wolverine.
X-Men. Yeah, Wolverine.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, the Wolverine. God. Just
I'm
no.
pretty sure I watched it once.
God, no. This is Hollywood being dumb, man. I mean, they do this stuff, and I just get so angry because it's like, you're taking this story that was an incredible story, and you completely dicked it up, and it just drives me absolutely bonkers. Oh,
and it doesn't really bear any resemblance by that point to the actual storyline of the comic.
Not at all. It misses the whole point of what that story arc was about. It was about him and his wife. He actually gets married to the Japanese lady, and the profound effect it had on him. I mean, I remember that. I mean, they were in Japan, and he was in some house, and when they showed her Logan meeting her for the first time, and he's a nervous wreck. He's like, "Oh, calm down, boy, and you got to act differently here." So,
Speaking of Hugh Jackman, since he's not going to be reprising the role again,
sure.
Do you have a fan cast of who you would like to take over Wolverine?
No, not really. I don't try to do that. I mean, I wait till I don't, certain actors you may get a little excited for, but I wait to see the performance before I judge the performance. Like, you think someone might do good and then they don't, or then someone you think won't do good, they do a really good job. So I always wait till after the performance before I make any kind of judgment. So I'll give anybody they pick, give them an opportunity. If they can pull it off and make it their own version of Wolverine, then go for it. But we'll judge it. If it's good, we'll say it's good. If it's bad, we'll say it's bad.
Okay. And why is it so hard to get Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix right in the movies? Like what can they do to bring these cosmic forces to a movie and do it right?
Mm-hmm. So, if everybody remembers, Ron Reynolds did Green Lantern back in 2009, I believe, 2010,
That he did.
Yep.
and you know, and what was the bad guy? It was a big poopy brown cloud. Just like, no, that's not. It's just like when they did Fantastic Four and they did Galacticus, and I just looked at, that's not Galacticus. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't. And I think what the MCU has done really well is they understand that those basic concepts. I mean, if you look at the Avengers movies, so good at really getting to the nitty gritty of the characters, their wants, their needs, the suffrage, the pain that they go through. The Infinity Gauntlet was unbelievable. They captured perfectly that entire arc. About the only thing they didn't include was, and I'm going crazy here. Who's the bad guy? And I did High
In
and Stream last
Infinity War,
night.
Thanos.
Thanos, thank you. I did High and
Okay.
Stream last night, and I haven't barely had any sleep. So with all the other streams I've
And you've
done
got
today,
D&D tonight.
yeah. So I need to take a nap. My brain is just not firing. And originally in the Infinity Gauntlet, and this is the only thing they didn't do is the same motivations in he had, but he was trying to impress Lady Death. So I didn't mind they didn't have that out there because they caught the other essence of who Thanos was and why he was doing what he was doing.
Mhm.
And I think if they take that kind of thing and they bring that to these villains and understand that the Dark Phoenix is this entity that looks for powerful people to take over and has its own goals. And it's the same thing with Apocalypse. Apocalypse is all about survival of the fittest, right? Might makes right. He's got this his idea. You got to get into that. And really, if I was doing the Apocalypse storyline, present day and then past day, he's lived a long time. He's the first mutant, allegedly, and he's been around for untold. No one really knows how long. I mean, for sure, but to go flashback and to see the things that happened with him, which they do in the comics, they explain like these things that happened to him that kind of gets him into this mindset. But in Age of Apocalypse, he's just there and he just does stuff. And then why does he have the four horsemen? They don't really get into that stuff. And I think that's where you're missing the mark. You got to really get into that character stuff. That's what really makes the MCU great, is the character stuff that really makes you want to believe and worry and care about these characters and get into their storyline. Because even with Thanos, like the way the MCU did is so good is because even though you hated what he did, you understood why he did it, right?
Exactly.
He was a great villain is a villain that does evil shit, but you can look at it from his point of view and say, okay, it's like Captain America Civil War. You kind of see Captain's point of view and you kind of see Iron Man's point of view, and you're not, that's good storytelling. That's good character development. That's what they need to do with Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse.
And Mustang Groot's final question of the day. Like, bless you, Mustang Groot. That was really helpful and really fun. What did you think of the 90s X-Men cartoon? I just said I'm rewatching it myself.
Yeah, when you go back and watch, you're like, man, but I remember back in the day, that was it, man. That was, I think, X-Men at its height.
That was hurry home from school so you could watch it,
Yeah.
Yep.
It was really good. I mean, it's a little, as an adult, you go back and watch it, you're like, okay, it's a little campy, it's a little, cheesy and stuff. Yeah, it's it's always cool to go back and watch some of those. And when you were a kid, you thought they were the best thing. Now, when those came out, I was a teenager getting to my early 20s when those came out, but I still enjoyed them because it was just X-Men. It's like anytime you can get X-Men, anything, a show or anything like that, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch this. And yeah, I still it's got a special place in my heart. What can I say?
I'm pretty sure Gambit was my first crush.
Oh yeah, Gambit was, God,
that Cajun accent. I'm just saying.
Mon cher.
If Mr. Critty K did a Cajun accent, I probably would spend less time streaming Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, Gambit was fascinating. I think his first appearance was the cover art was 266 by Jim Lee, where you see a picture of young Storm and him, and then his true story was 267 Uncanny X-Men. He was a great character, but after everything that happened with him, he's again a character that they haven't really done much with since that time in the 90s. He's been here and there. He's made appearances. I mean, they had the whole Thieves Guild and all that other stuff arc that they did, but haven't really done much with him. It was kind of like Cable. Cable was around, and we got his whole backstory, and then he kind of went from here and there and just became this guy's future. Now they've done a great job revamping him, but they do that. That's happened a lot, and I think what they're doing with the House of X is getting back into just those characters. Let's just focus on them. That's all we really need to do, and just have the mutants together. And yeah, Gambit. Oh, he's so good.
I had faith
Nice.
that for a while that we might get Gambit going, and we might actually get this film going. And there was all these fan casts of Channing Tatum and a whole bunch of other people, and then it just feels like they're never actually going to do anything, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, Gambit's a great story to tell, but I think you tell it through the X-Men, right? Because in the X-Men comic books, his past gets involved with the Brood, who come back, and that was a really awesome storyline that you could have with him. You can do separate stories, but I think what you have to do, if you're the MCU and they'll do a good job of this, is tell these individual stories as they lead up to the or you would do this. I would think you do the X-Men first, but then you can start getting these separate stories where you have a few of the X-Men go do some of these separate stories arcs that we've seen in the comic books. And you can tell Gambit's story, you can tell Storm's story, and how she's involved with Wakanda and T'Challa, and that backstory, and really retell Wolverine's story, because they really dicked it up in the movies. I mean, Weapon X was a huge program. It was done, and it's linked into all the Weapon X's. People forget the first Weapon X was Captain America. People forget about that. So Deadpool was one. I mean, you think about all these characters that came from the Weapon X program. So yeah, I mean, you can do all kinds of great stories.
Well, here's hoping that I know Feige has a plan, and I'm sure it will come to fruition.
All hail Feige.
One day, all hail the master of the MCU. We've got Fantastic Four coming. That's been announced. We have a director. That film is on its way. There's been teases that it will show up in Disney Plus somewhere first, and then we'll get the film. So hopefully we will see that with the X-Men as well. We'll have probably a highly recognizable character like Wolverine or Cyclops or Professor X, or one of those guys show up somewhere and then go, hey, by the way, this is coming 2 summers from now, or whatever it's gonna be. So I don't think we'll see it anytime soon, but I think probably within the next 10 years we will have the X-Men going finally.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, yeah, well, definitely sooner rather than later. I mean, we got the next phase for Marvel announced with the movies and everything. I'm excited for, because I saw Inhumans in there. I'm like, please get it right, please get it right. And I know they will, because Feige, he's done a masterful job with everything, and so I have high hopes for Fantastic Four with the MCU taking, with Marvel taking over with Disney, that Fantastic Four is going to be told right. The X-Men are going to be told right. It's just going to make that story arc. I mean, what they've done with Spider-Man. I mean, good Lord, they've done such a fantastic job with Spider-Man. My hat's off to them. I mean, God, they're so good. I mean, you think about some of these ones too. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy became so popular because of how good they did it, and caught the essence of it. And Doctor Strange, they nailed the weird stuff that's in Doctor Strange. They didn't back away from it. They stuck to the guns about who that character is and his background. So they do that, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
I highly agree.
there's been Sorry.
Watching these other films and like it gives you hope that the mutants will find their home, because so many of the MCU properties have their own feel. They have they have their own language and style to it, where you're going to watch a Guardians of the Galaxy movie and you're not going to mistake it for Black Panther.
Yeah.
No.
Regardless of the fact that you might see the same characters, you know which property you're watching. But it all feels like it belongs together in the same world.
Yeah.
So that's what I need from Fantastic Four and X-Men. Those are my two favorite superhero teams. Like, on either side, I could care less about Justice League or Suicide Squad from DC. I'll watch it, but you know, these are the ones that I enjoy and want to see done well.
Well, I agree. I mean, yeah, DC, I mean, I'm not sure what they're trying to do. They've got in their recent years, man, DC's really stepped up their game. I think the entire Green Lantern story, God, there's so much great material there, you know, Darkest Night and all this other stuff that they could get into. I mean, it's just, there's potential there. There's some really good stuff there.
But at the same time, what is DC Extended Universe doing?
I know,
like, the movies have been failing so hard compared to good source material.
Because they're not doing Feige. They're getting away from the source material. I mean, it's really bad. You know, it's just, you know, there's some, I mean, the recent Batman comic books, you had the 3 Jokers. That was really good. You also had the Joker who laughs and the heroes, you know, just, there's so many, oh God, they got so many good story arcs that they can get into. And they're not doing it because I mean they're scared. I don't know. Whoever's doing DC, I don't understand what they're trying to do. It blows me away. I mean, if you look at the recent Green Lantern, I'm trying to think, Dark Knight Metal, these are really good. Justice League and Death Metal, Dark Knight Metal, you know, there's some really good stories in there. They're just not do anything. I mean, you could bring in the White Lantern, you can bring in the other Lantern Corps. I'd love to see a Green Lantern Corps movie, right? And get into that stuff. I mean, it's unbelievably good, but they're not doing it. And I think they're missing the ball on this stuff. I mean, good Lord.
I mean, the one Green Lantern thing that they are doing is they're doing the Guy Gardner series. And I'm like, why? Why this character? Like, he is...
Who asked for it?
Yeah, he's not liked. And I'm like, I know why you're doing it, to comment on the current political situation in the country, because he kind of represents everything that certain people don't like. And I'm like, but why? Like, start with the main character that everybody recognizes.
Do the core.
Yeah. Like, I'm just like, why are you doing one character that no one cares about?
All of those guys work together. Yeah, no, right? You can take all of the Green Lanterns and do their story, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, this is not rocket science. Bring them, just call it the Green Lantern Corps. You have to just do the Green Lantern and make it one Green Lantern. Yeah, they all have their own story, but you can tell their individual stories through the telling of the Lantern Corps.
What we do not need is yet another reboot and origin story.
No.
Because that is all that DC knows how to produce. Is a reboot and origin. At most, they give us 3 movies that go together and call it a day.
Yeah. And the problem that DC had before is, like, if you looked at, the Justice League or Batman versus Superman, they try to, instead of just going with one story and telling that story really well, I mean, they mishmashed a whole bunch of stuff in there. Death of Superman and all this other crap that they try to put in there. It was just so bad. And they need to stop doing that. I mean, it's oh, Christ. And then I watched the Snyder cut of the Justice League. Like, why the hell didn't you let him do that? That was unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he got into all that stuff, and I was like, oh, God, it was a completely different movie. It was so good. And I'm just like, that's DC's problem. They don't believe in the source material, and they try to, I mean, it's Hollywood doing stuff they shouldn't. You got it, whether it's Filoni in Star Wars or it's Feige with Marvel, or, look what Disney does with their stuff. They give it to someone that they trust, that knows this material, that is going to be true to the material and can bring it to life. That's what you need to do. And
that's what fans want.
Yeah.
We're going to spend money on these movies. Even for, like, Shang-Chi is coming out. I can
know.
guarantee you not a whole ton of people know Shang-Chi, but if they're big enough Marvel fans, they're gonna go. They're gonna see it, they're gonna spend the money because they love the MCU.
Yeah.
But if DC did something similar and tossed a character that you really don't know out there, nobody'd go watch it because they don't trust the DC extended universe to treat the characters and the source material right.
Yeah. It's sad. I mean, the shows, I mean, they're pretty decent. I just got, it was kind of got
hmm
too serial
Like I'm
matinee
still
for
a big
me.
fan, but I can fully vouch for the fact that I know nobody's watching. All the shows are pretty much wrapping up.
Yeah. Which is, but I think if I think of what I would love to see for X-Men too. Yeah, we do some movies, but let's get some series on Netflix or and Disney where we have these series like Wolverine series or something like that. I think that would be brilliant. Silver Surfer. Just these characters that'll be in the
Yeah.
movies, but they tie it in from the shows.
An anthology series would be amazing.
Oh my God, it was so
You could
that would
just
be
spend
great.
time, just like each episode, you focus on another X-Men and they wander throughout telling an overarching story. It would
Yeah,
be amazing.
yeah. I mean, you can do any of those. Storm story would be incredible. I mean, Wolverine's story would be incredible. Gambit's story would be incredible. You could take any of these characters, even Iceman. His backstory is really fascinating. Um, Xavier, Magneto. And just flesh these characters out and have the movie. But people that watch Disney can see that the story arc. They get more in depth with these characters. So when they watch the movie, they have like this incredible understanding of the characters as they go watch the movie. So yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. I think we're starting to see that more that Disney's like, these television shows are pretty popular. The WandaVision and with Falcon and Winter Soldier was really good. I'm excited to see what else they do. I'm really interested to see the Loki one.
I cannot wait for
Oh,
Loki.
it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, I mean, the way Tom Hiddleston has played him is brilliant because in the comic book, Loki is not like Tom Hiddleston has played him. He is more Loki, the god from Norse mythology and stuff. But then Thor isn't either, right? I mean, Thor's more Thor from the movies and stuff like that. It's gotten better over the years here recently, but yeah, I think they're starting to see that you can have fun with these characters and not just be down the
It
line.
doesn't have to be super serious and Shakespearean.
Right.
Well, I mean, and we've had this
Absolutely.
fundamental shift of going away from 24 episode seasons and going away from 2-hour movies to these 6 to 10 hour miniseries and telling a complete story within that. That was, why things like WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, some of the stuff Netflix done, like things like Queen's Gambit, all of these different shows are succeeding because they are encapsulated stories that are given room to breathe. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. I would love them to start that way with X-Men. Take one character or even a couple of characters, give them room to breathe, let the story develop, and then go move on to the movies and kind of see where things go from there. Because worst case, they're throwing money like crazy at Disney Plus. If it doesn't work, you don't get great numbers, cool. You didn't just waste $500 million on a movie that you needed to, recoup your budget on. You can give them $100 million and if you don't see a return in investment, it's not that big of a deal. You make $11 billion a quarter anyways. So,
Well, I mean, think about what Deadpool, what Ryan Reynolds did, and that director for the budget that they had. That's one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen. It was ridiculously funny, over the top. I mean, they really captured the essence of who Deadpool was and breaking the fourth wall, and and I love, and they've kept that going with Deadpool 2. I mean, just so. I mean, when they did it for like what, $30 million, absolutely insane that they did that movie for the cost that they did, and still made it look so good and made it so funny, and it was all about Ryan Reynolds, and just you can do that too. You don't have to spend a fortune to make something great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you have a good vision for it. So yeah, I'm with you on that 100%.
Their budget was $58 million and their
58
box
million.
office was 782 million.
Yeah.
Yes. There you
So
go.
it
$50
smashed
million for a comic book movie. Think
Mhm.
about it.
I mean, honestly,
I
they
mean,
didn't do
Age of
anything super
Apocalypse,
fancy.
ugh.
You know,
They didn't need to.
it was
A little
mostly
bit of
practical
CGI for
stunt work.
Colossus
Yeah.
Yeah. It really was. I mean,
and a smart ass in a suit. Like that's all you need, apparently.
It works.
but that's because that is so character driven. It's what makes it
Mhm.
so good. I mean, the action enhances the story of what the characters are going through. That's what action should do. It shouldn't just, I mean, there's times you just want to watch like Godzilla versus King Kong because you just want to see Godzilla fighting King Kong. You're not
Yeah.
really, I didn't really care about the story.
You don't care who King Kong is as a person?
Yeah.
Not really, no. But sometimes you just want to see shit get smashed.
Yep.
But when you get to these kind of movies, which is why the MCU is so good, is these really, I mean, God, I mean, just think about Captain America's movies that they did. You know, Captain
Mhm.
America, Captain America Civil War. You know, you get into those movies and you're just, it's like, oh, so good. You know,
Yeah, Winter Soldier was my favorite by far.
so good. Winter Soldier, I love that movie. So good, man. Oh,
Yep.
it's just
And
so well
really
acted.
good action, but the point was the story. It was
Yes,
feeling
thriller.
for these characters. And even with the Winter Soldier, he was a villain at that point, but you felt for him.
Yeah,
You know, he felt tortured and you felt empathy.
yeah. You felt for Bucky, and that's what makes them so good. It's like I said, Thanos. You hate Thanos, but you kind of understand Thanos. Like
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, you kind of understand what he's trying to do. You just, you know, his actions that he's doing are just messed up. You know, it's like, yes, I think your idea to make the universe a better place is good. Wiping out half the universe's population is not so good.
Yeah.
You know, so
Can we maybe workshop this for a plan B?
Yeah.
he was like, nope. But they developed that backstory. Why is Thanos doing this? You know, and he explained why he has this idea when they visit his planet. Like, this used to be an awesome place, and look what happened. And I've seen it time and time again. And that was his solution. So you hate him for it.
I mean,
But you
yeah,
understand
he's
it.
a villain that you hate, but yet you understand his motivation. He has such a clear motivation that, you know, yeah, you hate him, but also he wasn't going to change his mind. He wasn't going to veer off from his determined path. And I admire that in a character, you know, at a time when most characters are all over the place and wishy-washy at best in some cases. You know, there is something to be said for just a quiet determination. And plus, you know, this was the villain that was strung throughout, you know, 21 movies in various spots of going, okay, you were the one pulling the strings. You know, and we had so many red herrings from the Watchers to going, okay, Loki's acting on his own, or he's at least an agent of someone. You know, and just kind of how they weaved everything through was top notch. And I hope that they can, you know, continue to do this because now you've got the added of, okay, you've got all of these Disney Plus shows in addition to, and yeah, you don't have to watch them, but if you like certain characters, you're going to. But they also line up with each of the films. So it'll be fun to see kind of where they go from here. They've got a lot of fun movies coming up, you know, from Spider-Man Far From Home to, and then completing that arc with Doctor Strange 2 to the one, you know, Eternals looks amazing. I am hearing that we're going to have a trailer for that sometime next month. Probably, maybe even in July, in front of Black Widow. So we'll see. But there's a lot of fun stuff coming up on the Marvel side, and I hope DC gets its act together and we, you know, actually get some cohesion. You know, there's been all these memes going around about, you know, the difference between how Marvel interacts with their fans and DC, and it's like DC fans are like, we just want the Snyderverse on HBO Max, and they're like, no. Marvel fans are like, can we have the hour-long cut of Zemo dancing? And they're like, sure. And the next day they put it up on YouTube. Like, there's just there doesn't need to be all this animosity between DC fans and DC, like there is. And I know that they're going through a big scandal right now. We will probably see the entire film structure of DC change within the next year. And hopefully they find their Feige. That's all I can hope for at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame because there are some good stories that they could tell. Yeah, it's disappointing. But hey, I've never been the biggest DC fan, but I have read some of the stories that fascinated me. And I thought they were really good, especially more recent years. I didn't really get behind New 52 or any of that other stuff, Crisis on Infinite Earth. But these last 5 years, the stories, especially, going back like with the Green Lantern Corps and all these other stories, like, damn, these are really good, man. DC stepping up their game. They really are in the comic books. They're not doing it in the movies, but comic books, DC has really stepped up their game with their stories and characters. I mean,
Yeah.
Good Lord, if they really stepped it up.
And DC animation has always been phenomenal. And all I want them to do...
Oh, I love DC animation.
...is take the thought process behind DC animation and transfer it to live action. Like, it's not this hard.
I know, right?
And then make Mark Hamill play the Joker.
Oh, God,
Naturally.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I don't care if you have to CGI him. Like, just, yes, please. There's been
I don't
so
care if
many
he's
great...
talking from the shadows. Just give us...
Right? I recently rewatched Killing Joke, and it's such a simple story, but it was so effective and so terrifying that it was brilliant. And I'm like, why can't you figure out how to do that for your live action? Like, just take the same process.
Do Batman Superman like they did in the damn animated version.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite animated versions of all time. It was insanely good.
Right? Like, I've
Or
been
for that
rewatching...
matter, take the Arkham Asylum video game
Yeah.
and just make a film out of that.
God.
That works too.
You've got amazing storytelling, fantastic graphics. Just stick a human being in there instead of a computer-generated Batman guy.
I mean, honestly, like the Suicide Squad video game trailer that they put out a couple of weeks ago looks phenomenal. So much better than the actual film. And I'm like, why can't you do this? Like, I mean, the trailer for the second Suicide Squad that we got, it looks okay, but like some of the jokes were like, meh, to me, and I'm just like, why? Like, why do you gotta be this? Why can't you just actually be the Suicide Squad? Why do you have to be the DC version of Guardians? I don't want this. So
I just want something good. That's
yeah.
I don't care what it looks like. Just make it good.
Yeah, let's quit dicking around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when Hollywood doesn't respect the material, that's what you get with DC. And then when you have someone that does really respect the material, like Feige and all them, I mean, one cohesive group all on the same page, that's when you get the MCU. And the MCU is it's good because it's unbelievable good storytelling.
Yeah, it's amazing. I cannot wait for the next batch of movies to come out. I'm looking forward to Loki. And I have so much excitement for where we could go, bringing the mutants into this, bringing the Fantastic Four in. They're my favorite teams. And I really want to ignore everything that just recently happened with those two franchises and just see it done well.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, it's the last piece until we have the complete Marvel universe going. And I know a lot of people have been waiting a long time. And I have faith that it will be good when we finally get it. It'll be worth the wait. And, by then we can actually do things like go to midnight showings and geek out in all of our gloriousness. But until then, we can continually rewatch the animated series and just kind of keep going until we get there. But at the end of the day, a good story is worth the wait.
Yes, it is.
And thank you again, Ranger, for joining us.
Of course.
Our time has come to an end. We've been with you for about an hour and a half now since you joined us.
I know, right?
Where can everybody catch you?
Well, of course, you can check me out on Reality Skewed Gamers channel. We play a lot of games there. It's all about gaming. I do a separate stream on Tuesdays, Anime Bingeaholics, where I cover anime shows and with Kitty Curio, aka Ladypool, and cover anime. So I'm a huge anime junkie. But typically 99% of the time you're going to catch me on RSG. Monday through Friday, doing the lunch stream. We have a stream where we hang out and talk about Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. We cover it on Wednesday and Saturday, like I did today with that game. I'm also on the Escape Podcast channel with Nev on Tuesdays as we do the GA Center. But then we have a bunch of other games that we do. We have a State of Survival game we're playing, and we cover that on Friday nights. We also do a lot of D&D, which we'll be doing tonight over on the Reality Skewed Gamers Twitch, where you guys come join us as we play D&D. A lot of fun. The 5th edition Wildmount campaign. And then on Sundays, I do a Star Wars D&D game. And then, God, we do so many stupid games. Don't Starve Together on Tuesdays. Monday, Finn does Marbles. Finnity's the other guy on the channel with me. And then in between all that, we're also doing our GACs, Wars from Swuggo, on Twitch as well. So if I'm not streaming, I'm thinking of streaming or working on something for streaming or sleeping. That's about it.
I mean, hey,
Nice.
I commend you.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
Always busy.
Yes, I am.
Alrighty, guys. Well,
So we are going to be off next week.
yep.
Gigi's going to go on vacation.
Oh, I'm so ready. And then we've got the charity stream the weekend after that. So please do mark your
Oh.
calendars. We will be starting at 8 a.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. We were going to 8 a.m. the next morning, raising funds for To Write Love on Our Arms. And we will have a bunch of our favorite content creators hanging out with us, playing a bunch of games. At one point, I will be going after gas, finally. So yeah, we
God
will
bless
see
you.
you guys then. Thanks so much for joining. Please do hit that follow button, like, and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, and you can catch us here on YouTube and wherever your favorite podcasting app is. Oh, someone just followed.
Thank you, Ranger,
I
for
just saw that. I'm
subscribing.
like,
Thank you, Ranger, for
it's
following.
like
I do
For following.
appreciate it.
Yeah, follow. I was like, wait.
Yes. I feel so honored.
Oh,
I was
I
like, wait a minute,
appreciate
didn't I
it.
follow the channel? God damn it.
Well, I do appreciate
But
it.
we will see you guys next time.
Bye.